There is one thing actually going on that is relatively normal in the sports world. That is the NFL draft. And Chris Sims from the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast joins us. I haven't even seen you wear a shirt with a button in the last few days. Have you just been wearing that sweatshirt constantly, Sims?
Up shirt, and I have a button up underneath my hoodie, just so you know. See,
Okay,
see
okay.
there? Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure you know that I'm official. I'm official over here.
I just want clarity. I thought the podcast was going to change to the Chris Sims Hoodie podcast, but that's fine. It's all good. All right, just let's get right to the conversation that I think everybody is curious about. Does Tua get picked early tonight in your mind, or does Tagovailoa, the Alabama quarterback, drop?
I think Tua drops. I do. Ultimately, I do think that the Miami Dolphins are still sitting there right now. All right, there's two teams in the top 10. The Miami Dolphins, I do think, went into this process with a true love affair of Tua. You know, I think once they visited his injury histories, I think they changed that love affair to Joe Burrow. And I still think they're very possibly could try to make a play to get Joe Burrow, but I don't envision that happening. But you're right. Tua is the big domino in this draft. Where does he fall and what happens? You know, the Los Angeles Chargers at number 6. They're another team, I would say, what will they do? I think ultimately they're going to end up going in another position. I just think that Tua, ultimately, all these injuries, the style of play and all that's just too risky to draft him in the top 10, Mike. So I say once he hits number 10, that's when you're going to see open business for somebody to try to make a play. And who is that owner going to be, Mike? Who's that owner going to be that's going to just sit in their draft room going, Tua's on the board. We got to make a move and get him. You know, I did my mock draft yesterday. I had Jacksonville and Shah Khan being that guy to make that play, seeing him there on 13. The 49ers, we know they want to trade down at 13, and I think that could be a very real possibility when they see him on the board, knowing they could get a guy like Tua down in SEC country that has, of course, a very big media-friendly name and a guy that's the quarterback of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, Chris, I thought Nick Saban's comments a couple of days ago were the all-time endear yourself to your current group of athletes and future student athletes for ever long as you're going to be there. When he said, if you make the mistake and pass on Tua, it's akin to my mistake of passing on Drew Brees with the Dolphins. I thought that was just, I'm going to kind of throw that out there for that example of the medical question, the Miami Dolphins. I made the mistake. Don't let it happen again. At least from a loyalty standpoint, that got 11 out of 10 in my book.
Well, yes. And Saban, he's so great about talking about his players. And, of course, hey, we expect him to stick up for his players, and especially at the quarterback position. You know, it only helps out Alabama and Nick Saban to see a guy like Tua, their quarterback, get drafted in the top 10, top 20. Hey, listen, I like Tua. You know that I have concerns about him even without the injury issues. But, you know, this is different than Drew Brees. Yes, there was injury issues with Drew Brees. We had also seen him play at the NFL level. Also with the fact that this is more than one injury issue with Tua as well. And that's the other thing I think we got to take into account here. It's, you know, it's a number of things, ankles, wrist, hip. You got to worry about all of that, the accumulation of it, like I said, with the style of play and him being a smaller type quarterback. I think sometimes, Mike, too, people look at Tua and again, I think they think they're going to get Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, some guy that's going to be able to run around and make these plays. And I just want to say, whoa, pump the brakes there. This guy's athletic. He can move around in the pocket really well. He's got great feet. But Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray are arguably the fastest people on their football team. That's a different type of speed. You're not getting that from Tua. You're getting a blend of a pocket passer who can dance around and make some plays outside of the pocket. And, yes, he is the big question mark of this draft so far this year or coming into tonight.
Yeah, do you feel Miami has a desire with Herbert there to go get a quarterback somewhere in the first round, even if it's a little bit deeper down in the first round? They're the team that I'm having the most conversations in my head about. I keep looking at all the lists and who's going to go where and where people pick. I think Miami feels like the team that's got a lot of pieces put together now. That maybe that quarterback of the future could set them up for a run in their division. What do you think about Miami?
Yeah, I mean, I just think Miami, they're kind of holding the keys to the draft right now, or at least for night one with these 3 picks.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
You know, having a little bit in each area of the first round, the start of the draft, the middle of the draft, and then another pick towards the end of the first round there. So, Mike, there's two things that jump out to me. First off, we've been hearing Herbert to Miami for like about 3 weeks now, right? I really like Justin Herbert, the player.
Right.
I think he's very talented. I think he'd be a great pick for the Miami Dolphins. But the fact that it's been so obvious and out there is a little, again, just with my being around the NFL my whole life, it's like, whoa, that seems to be too obvious and too out there. And I've had some people in the NFL circles that I really trust, Mike, who have told me they think it's a very real possibility that with that first pick in the first round, the Dolphins don't take a quarterback. They address some other situation on their football team. And then they start to think as they get closer, right, like tackle, exactly right. And then as they get closer to their second and third pick in the first round, that maybe a play for Tua is available. Maybe Jordan Love from Utah State is in the conversation. And I've heard maybe that even they would use all three of their first-round picks for no quarterbacks, and then maybe even look to trade up late in the first round to get a fourth first-round pick and maybe go Jordan Love there. So that's why they're fascinating right now, and I don't think anybody has real feel for what the hell they're going to do.
5, 18, 26, 39, and 56. Those are not tonight's lotto numbers in your state. Those are the 5 picks that Miami has in the first 56. That gives exactly what Chris is talking about, the flexibility to move and dance. Let's get past the first few guys. Jerry Jeudy, you are a little bit lower on the wide receiver from Alabama than some other folks. Who is your top wide receiver?
CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is the slam dunk #1 guy. There's just no weakness to his football game. Can play outside, can play inside, got great hands, really attacks the football and rips it out of the air. I think he's the best with the ball in his hands after the catch. I mean, he makes – the first guy never tackles him. So there's size, there's great route running to go with that. To me, he's the for sure fire, can't miss superstar prospect at the wide receiver position. And, yeah, Mike, that's another thing about this draft. When does this wide receiver run start and how many go in the first round are all going to be things I think we're all going to be clued into tonight.
Let me move down to running back. And there's a player who we got to see a lot because of the talent of the quarterback, Joe Burrow, the talent of the wide receiver position. But Edwards-Helaire, the running back from LSU, had my eyes open every time they threw him a ball in space. And there is a lot of that in the NFL with those choice routes that running backs can run, and they really mess up defenses. Could he sneak into the first round in your mind, Chris?
I do. I look at the end of the first round and see some possibilities there for Edwards-Helaire. And for me, Mike, he is the most talented running back in the draft. He is. And to what you said is spot on. His route running is special out of the backfield. It's like Christian McCaffrey to where he's going to be able to separate from anybody. But then he's got the power between the tackles, like a Mark Ingram, a Ray Rice, and then, of course, the quickness of like a Darren Sproles or a Barry Sanders and the ability to make people miss and accelerate and stop and re-accelerate. So I do view him as a fringe end of the first round type prospect. In my mock draft, I penciled him in to go to the Kansas City Chiefs at pick number 32, who have a running back need.
Oh my gosh.
And with all those receivers flying downfield and Patrick Mahomes, now you got this guy to work the underneath coverage. That would be very stressful for any defense to handle. But, Mike, I think you're spot on. His skill set really fits the modern-day NFL.
My eyes just got big. I'm thinking Mahomes, little rollout, dump it over to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he goes off to the races. I mean, that is, as you said, with the field stretch with all the other speed, that could be a phenomenal fit for Kansas City. And that's why in a deep draft with those guys who handle the ball, wide receivers, some running backs as well, the bottom of the first round where teams that are good already have some picks could be interesting. The corner spot, we had the PFF guys on yesterday. Steve Palazzolo was on, and this was really eye-opening. One of my college buddies who we talk football all the time on text, we were talking about how there is a shift to, if you want to have an elite pass defense, corners over pass rushers. The analytics guys start to think that's where the more important things are. So where are you on the cornerback position, where a lot of folks talk about Ohio State's Jeffrey Okudah being the number 3 overall pick potentially to the Lions?
Yeah, well, the top 3 guys at the position are very talented to me. Now, Honestly, C.J. Henderson from Florida, and I think A.J. Terrell from Clemson are more talented prospects than Jeff Okudah. I really like Jeff Okudah, but I don't think he has the raw physical explosiveness and speed of Henderson or Terrell. Now, what he does have that they don't have is, I mean, he is a technician, and he is well-schooled and ready to play day one. Terrell and Henderson, at Florida and Clemson, Mike, they really just their defensive game plan was like, hey, go cover that guy, and we'll see how it ends up at the end of the game.
Right.
Just go cover him man to man. Okudah and the Ohio State scheme got to do a little bit of everything. Lots of different zone coverages. So, of course, played some man to man. And like I said, with Ohio State being kind of a DB university, he's very well schooled in the techniques at the position. So he's ready to go day one. There's no rawness about him, but very talented. And I think we could see 4 to 5 corners go in the draft, Mike. And, to the point of with the PFF guys, I think there's a lot of value in that. Hey, the number one defense in football last year was the New England Patriots, and that was because of their secondary. And Mike, as I do, because we watch a lot of football together, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 in the modern day NFL, with the creativity of these coaches and as good as the quarterbacks and receivers can catch and throw the ball, you can't play zone in that situation anymore. You can't. No. The offense and the quarterback's going to find the hole in the zone and bam, throw a pass and it's going to be complete and it's going to be a first down. You got to play some man-to-man at times to throw some offenses off balance and not give them those easy completions. And I think that's really where the importance of man-to-man has come into play here in the modern NFL.
That's a great point. Chris, I was lucky enough in my 25 years at ESPN to work a lot of drafts. I got to host day one once when Chris Berman was out with some leg surgery. I hosted day two when it was only 2 days for years and years and years. You were drafted in the 3rd round of your draft. One thing that always struck me that I always felt was incomplete in doing the draft. You're talking about this guy, his XO, his fit, but for every kid who gets drafted, all 250, whatever, this is one of the biggest accomplishments of their life, to go from Pee Wee football to be one of the 1%, less than 1% to get drafted. What are the emotions as someone who's heard their name called at the draft for this night and the next 2 nights for all these college football players?
Well, it's a dream come true. It's chills in your spine, up your neck type of moment. I get that just as you were sitting here explaining that to me. I'm thinking about back in my day of when I did get drafted. I have a soft spot in my heart for a lot of these players because I do feel bad for these first rounders who are not going to have the chance to walk on stage and hug Roger Goodell and put the hat and jersey on and do all that. They're going to miss that experience. Where I do feel for them, but this is as big as it gets for a football player. I mean, man, you said it. You play high school, you play college, you play Pee Wee football. All you think about, you're watching highlights of all your the people you idolized growing up. I hope one day I could be in the NFL and play. And now here you are at that moment. It's hard to hold back tears. You smile, you're happy, but you cry because you just can't believe it happened. And then, hey, Mike, there'll be the other guys who get left out of the first round who thought they were going to get drafted in the first round. That's kind of what happened with me, where, for lack of a better phrase, I was pissed off for a little while. I was going like, damn, am I ever going to get drafted? What the hell's going on here? I was mad. I sent my friends home. I said, all right, it's over. The show's over. And then I got the call from Johnny Gruden, our friend, and that brought a lot of joy to my life.
Well, we're glad you're a little bit happier person now. Well, at times, anyway. Thanks,
Right.
Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the help with the draft, man. It's been great talking football. We'll reconvene next week after this whole deal's done. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.